This is a mystery plant that I got from China. Not kidding. I ordered some seeds. Turned out they came from China, and I planted them, and they ended up not being what I thought they were. So I have no idea what these are. Thought I'd give a little garden tour. This is middle of June 2021, and everything's coming along quite nicely in the garden. Our irrigation setup is we have this spigot here that I installed here in the middle of the field. I've got a pipe that runs from over here to this spigot, and then that waters this zone. No, sorry, that waters this zone here. And then I have another spigot that comes down from the barn that waters this zone here. And then I also have 5 spigots that run along that part of the field there. And I've got a zone up above and a zone down below. So 1, 2, 3, 4 different zones run from 4 different spigots. We've got drip tape that goes to all the different rows. And then we've got some squash. This is Maxibel Harcourt beans. These are like slender French fillet beans, super delicious. Some squash. And basically what my mother-in-law did, my mother-in-law kind of co-manages this, is she planted the squash and then I planted the beans in between, just to make good use of the water that was coming from the drip tape. This squash probably won't get that big, so it's good to have good use of the extra water from the drip tape. So it's not just going to water a couple little squash in this row. More of those French fillet beans. And then this is my daughter's pumpkin. So this is Atlantic Giant pumpkin. So I'm going to be taking the tendrils, taking the vines from the pumpkin and run them all this way, because we have some space over here that we're not yet using. So we're going to direct all the vines from the pumpkins over in this direction. So that's one of hers, and then this is another of hers. Kind of having a little competition to see who can grow the largest pumpkin this year using those Atlantic Giant seeds. So that's my wife's. It hasn't sprouted yet. It's my other daughter's. Hers hasn't sprouted either. And so again, same thing as before. You can see all the beans all along the drip tape. This is my pumpkin, so I've planted a whole bunch of beans along with my pumpkin in hopes that they will kind of feed nitrogen into the soil. So, it's my little strategy, my secret weapon there to try and grow the biggest pumpkin. This corn was recently transplanted, so it's just getting over its transplant shock. This is candy corn, Kandykorn. And then this here's some root veggies and things that my mother-in-law planted. Some of them have started to grow out. I'm not sure exactly what they are. And you can see a little bit of weed pressure. I've been trying to keep up with the weeds as best I can, but it's quite an extensive garden, so there's kind of weeds everywhere you turn around. This is Silver Queen hybrid corn. And then I attempted to plant some beans in between, so you can see there are these gaps here. There's some corn plants and then a gap, and then corn plants. And so in these gaps I had planted beans, and the beans just did not thrive. They just all kind of shriveled up and died. So now I have all these gaps in between the corn. It was a climbing bean. It was, I believe, it was asparagus bean. And those asparagus beans produce these really long pods. and they're climbing beans. So I thought, okay, I'll do kind of a Three Sisters style thing where I'll do the asparagus bean in between, and then they'll grow and use the corn as a trellis. But all the beans just up and died. So now it's pretty much just corn. These are our cool weather crops, so we planted these the earliest. Tons of peas. The peas are just ginormous. My mother-in-law planted them really close together, and it's kind of neat that she did that because now they all kind of use each other as a trellis. So they all grow up nice and tall, and then they kind of latch onto each other with their tendrils, and they all kind of grew together. Really good. So that's our pea patch. Quite an extensive pea patch. And then here we've got some climbing beans, which we haven't trellised yet because that's just yet one more thing to do. And we've been so busy planting and weeding and everything in the rest of the garden that we haven't gotten to do some of those other things like the trellising. But got some nice healthy climbing beans here. Here we have our beets, which we didn't really thin. So some of them are growing nice and large and others are not growing quite so well. So quite a lot of beets. We eat a lot of root veggies. Random squash plant that ended up here somehow. That's cool. And then here's our turnips. We've already been harvesting a good number of turnips. And then this is our cabbage. And this has been a big disappointment. The cabbage is looking beautiful and it's got these nice heads on it. But unfortunately, I've been weeding and I've killed probably more cabbage than we have left. So there's currently 1, 2, 3, 4, there's about 5 cabbages left. We probably had about a dozen when we started, so I've probably killed about 7 cabbages. And that's really unfortunate. We've got fewer than half of them remaining. And they're beautiful. I just love these plants. Got lots of chard, so I'm going to be cooking some of this down and storing it. Tons and tons of chard. This is an experiment. I've never done potatoes before, but this is my first year, so there's some of our potato plants. And then I've already done one harvest of potatoes. This is our second round. And then there'll be a third and probably a fourth round as well. I'm going to plant some more probably this week. So we'll have lots of potatoes going forward. Let's see, more chard, a random vining squash. I'm not sure what that is, just kind of a volunteer. A random brassica here. Sometimes if I have an empty spot, I'll just put something there. It's like, I got space, I'll put one single plant there. So this is, it looks like some broccoli. 2 little broccoli plants next to each other. And that's kind of a recurring theme throughout the garden is as spots open up like right here, I'll plant them with just random little onesies and twosies. Another volunteer squash plant of some sort. Peppers. Our climate's not very good for peppers. We have a pretty cool climate, so peppers always struggle. But I've got some ideas on how I can improve going forward. Eggplants. This is our first time trying to grow eggplant. Seems like they're doing okay. I know they're more of a warm season, like a hot temperature crop, but they're alive, they're growing, so that's good. This pepper plant's doing well. These are transplants that we bought at the store just because with peppers, we really wanted to kind kind of give ourselves the best shot at getting some. And so it makes the most sense to get some that are pretty far along. And yeah, they're flowering and they seem to be, these are the best peppers that we've ever had, let's put it that way. And this is tomatillo. Lots of tomatoes. We eat a lot of tomatoes around here. My mother-in-law makes some pretty amazing salsa. So we freeze the tomatoes and then we use them all year long. These are the Maxibel Harcourt beans, all grown out, and you can see it's these nice, slender, really tender beans. These are one of my favorite beans. They're just, they're so tender and just, you know, the seeds are so small and all that they're just really, really nice to have in a meal. So I definitely went big on the Maxibel Harcourt beans for this year. Same deal here. You can see this spot that's opened up here. That's from me using the hoe and chopping some out inadvertently. So this is the hoe that I've been killing all these plants with. It's a great hoe. This is from Neversink Farm, and it's great because you can get under drip tape with it. The problem is, if you're not careful, you can easily chop the plants that you're weeding around, and I've done quite a bit of that so far this summer. So I've taken to some different hoeing strategies. So I like this one, just a regular blade hoe, but the blade is real small, and I found that this one you don't kill plants quite so easily. So there's that. This is just regular summer squash, zucchini. You can see the zucchinis starting to emerge here, so that's pretty exciting. And then in this row we had some plants that didn't make it for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. But then I planted them with, I replanted them with some vining squash. This is a type of pumpkin, an edible pumpkin called strawberry crown. Oh yeah, my fingernails are painted. My daughters wanted to paint my fingernails yesterday, so not something I normally do. But yeah, this is either strawberry crown or can't remember the other one, but I've gotten into edible pumpkins lately. I didn't realize just how good edible pumpkins are. And so I went big on edible pumpkins this year. So yeah, strawberry crown, and then I got another one from a company in New Mexico. I'll put the names on the screen because I can't remember them right now, but basically I'm super excited about winter squash and having a whole bunch of squash that we can store long term and enjoy the really good flavorful squash throughout the year. So here's another one that I've planted out that's just now germinating. And so nice big vining squash plants. This is cucumber, I believe. And cucumbers don't really do well in our climate because it's too cool. So we'll see how this goes, but I don't have high hopes for it. And that's more cucumber. I planted more squash here, more of those vining squash. And then this is kind of a disaster here. This is, I tried planting some stuff from seed. I do most things by transplant. And I like transplants because you know exactly where the plants are, so you know where to weed and where not to weed. But when you're growing things out by seed, you don't know where the seeds are exactly. It's hard to remember exactly where the seeds are, so it's hard to weed. And so I hadn't been weeding because I wanted the plants to start growing out. And now the weeds are just taking over. So this patch is a bit of a problem child here. So I'm gonna have to come in here by hand, I think, and just weed around all the plants. So you can see the plants have germinated. This is a type of dry bean, a new, sort of a dry climate, hot climate dry bean. It's not Garcia Bolitas, but it's I'll put the name on the screen. I can't remember the name of it. And oh, hey, Tommy, you just need some attention, huh? And so yeah, I got poor germination with these, unfortunately. And on top of that, it's just weeds everywhere. So it's a big disappointment. So this is my problem child patch here. And then, yeah, so that covers the bulk of the garden. Oh, we've got this over here. So more tomatoes here. This is the hillbilly tomato. This is one of my favorite tomatoes here. Just amazing flavor, big, huge tomatoes, really productive. You can put one single slice on a whole sandwich. Really, really good. Some volunteer sunflowers. I did sunflowers in this field last year. And so got a couple little volunteers that I'll let grow. This here is more of that vining squash. So this is also a dry climate winter squash here. More tomatoes, and then more beets, more turnips. And then this here, this is Garcia Bolitas. This is another dry climate, dry bean. And these I also planted by seed, but I was able to kind of stay on the weeding. So they're doing quite well. I do have some more weeding to do here, but I at least know where the plants are. They've all germinated nicely. Got some onions here that I need to weed. So that's the bulk of the garden. These are my chestnuts here. This is American chestnut down here. A lot of these haven't sprouted yet, but they are. The seeds are starting to grow, but they haven't sprouted. So I've got a couple that have. There's 3 I know that have sprouted, but most of them haven't. And then this is a mix of different cultivars. So different, there's the Bouche de Boussac, there's the Prolific, there's the European. So I got all these different trees that have grown out from different cultivars. And then this is my shellbark hickory. This is the only one that survived, the only one that really germinated, which is a big disappointment because I'm way into shellbark hickory nuts. And unfortunately, I've only got one that's really germinated. This is American elm. Not too many have germinated here either, which is a disappointment. This is a tomato plant that my daughter's planted from seed. These are shagbark hickory. So I've got more germination from those. This is apple from seeds that I've been saving over the years, well, over the past year. These haven't germinated yet. This is raspberry and sycamore. And then this is European chestnut, Osage orange, red mulberry. Nothing's planted in this bed as of right now. I had a whole bed of garlic. I just got this little pea plant here. This is American persimmon, black locust, white mulberry, golden currant, Northern California walnut. This is pecan. This is a volunteer. Some Osage orange here. This is Rubus odoratus, which is a type of raspberry, but it's not the traditional raspberry that you see in the stores. And then this is some American elm that I planted last year. And finally, this is our grape area. So I've been growing these out and waiting for the time that I need to start trellising them. I've got these posts installed here, and the posts are basically just waiting for the trellis to be installed. And I think I've gotten to the point where I think it's just about that time. So I'm going to be installing the trellis this week and then starting to train the grapes up the trellis. And finally, last little thing here. Got some transplants here. Maxibel Harcourt beans. This is poplar, hybrid poplar. Got some mulberry cuttings in the back, some apples over on the right side there, some Osage orange in the back. This is a mystery plant that I got from China, not kidding. I ordered some seeds, turned out they came from China, and I planted them and they ended up not being what I thought they were. So I have no idea what these are. Any insight on what these might be would be appreciated. I hope it's not something invasive, but let me know if you have any insight. Mulberry, these are not doing so well. I fertilized them recently just to try and improve them a little bit. And they have improved, but I've lost some, and they just don't look super healthy, which is unfortunate. Sycamore also don't look super healthy. I'm going to plant some of those out pretty soon. And then black locust and some colossal chestnuts. So that's what we've got going on. Hope you enjoyed it.